This is Christopher John Bjerknes. It is June 22nd, 2025. As I've been predicting for decades, several nations are now lining up and offering to provide Iran with thermonuclear warheads to affix to their missiles to be used to attack Israel and the United States, primarily as a deterrent. And the Iranian parliament has given the Iranian military approval to close the Strait of Hormuz. These are half measures which are likely to lead to a preemptive nuclear strike by Israel and its allies, the United States included. And this will draw the British Navy in, draw in the French, and they will try to reestablish a coalition of the willing and reconstitute NATO for the purpose of giving Israel hegemony in the Middle East. These half measures won't work, but there is a path that Iran has to victory, and I suspect they have been exploring it for several decades, and I'm going to go over that. I also anticipate that Israel is going to escalate the war and is going to start to attack Iran's proxies in the region. Now that they have drawn the United States into the conflict, I suspect, as I've been predicting, that they are going to launch an attack on Hezbollah in the north, and that's why they overthrew Syria, so that they can flank Hezbollah on the east from Syria and flank it on the west from the Mediterranean Sea, while attacking it from Israel, try to split it, try to get behind Hezbollah by invading Lebanon. And I'm going to go over all of this for you. There will also be some bonus material at the end for my paid subscribers on my Substack account. You don't want to miss that. Be sure to get a paid subscription at CJBbooks.substack.com, where you will be able to see all of my complete videos going forward. So Dmitry Medvedev, the little bear, has stated that several nations are lining up to supply Iran with thermonuclear weapons. He tweeted out the enrichment of nuclear material, and now we can say it outright. The future production of nuclear weapons will continue in Iran. A number of countries are ready to directly supply Iran with their own nuclear warheads. The Iranians have to be very careful with the Russians, because the Russians stand to gain from this conflict between Iran, Israel, and the West. The Russians are certainly allies with Israel. Russia is a Bolshevik regime. The Bolshevik regime and Stalin were the ones who got Israel through the United Nations and founded the country. And there are millions of Russian Jews and Russians who are not Jewish, and people from the former Soviet republics working in Israel. And Russia stands to gain because the U.S., led by Chabadnik Donald Trump, redirected the missile defenses and weaponry that was slated to be used in Ukraine to defend it from Russian aggression, and redirected it very treacherously to Israel. And Russia also stands to gain from escalated oil prices. So this is a conflict that benefits Russia on many levels, but it ultimately wants to see Israel win. It will only help Iran to garner intelligence that the Israelis can utilize against Iran, and Israel and Russia will try to prolong the conflict so that they can do as much damage to the Iranians as possible with the help of the United States. This is the Chabad Troika of Chabad, Lubavitch, Trump, Putin, and Netanyahu working in collusion to attack Persia. This plan has been in the works from the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39, the Jewish apocalypses of Sefer Zerubbabel, the prayer of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and the Zohar. As I've explained, you can find some of my older videos on my YouTube channel. You can find links to that at CJBbooks.com. There's links at the bottom to all my social media, and there are also links where you can donate to keep me going. I want to thank all of my contributors for donating to keep me going. Putin has revealed the fact that he stands firmly behind Israel. Israel is almost a Russian-speaking country. 2 million from Russia live there. We can't ignore that. The Yiddish speakers are directly from Russia or from Russia, the Russian Empire, really, via New York City. So the Iranians have to be very careful with both Russia and Pakistan. They can be tremendously treacherous, but at this point, they have to take help wherever they can get it, keeping their eyes and ears open and their mouths shut. They should be feeding the Russians false intelligence, see where that intelligence winds up, watch what the Israelis do as the Russians garner information about Iran, find out the links and find out how to manipulate Russia and use Russia against Israel instead of Israel using Russia against Iran. The Iranian parliament backs a plan to close the Strait of Hormuz, which is the route by which Persian Gulf oil travels to Europe, to China, throughout to the rest of the world. And I'm sure that the Iranians have had plans for a very, very long time to not only take over this Strait of Hormuz, which you can see here. This is the Persian Gulf. This is Iran, United Arab Emirates, Oman. But I suspect they're also planning to take over Oman. This is just a little chunk of the Musandam Peninsula that belongs to Oman, and we'll get into another map of Oman. You can see this is the Persian Gulf. This is the Strait of Hormuz, which is a choke point for oil leaving from Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iran, United Arab Emirates, and Oman, because Oman controls that peninsular tip, Musandam, with the big city of Kasab. Now, it would be very easy for the Iranians to jump over and take Oman and liberate it from the Western backing governments. The same is true of the United Arab Emirates. And that way they could not only bomb ships with missiles, they could control both sides of the conflict, and they would get closer and closer to their allies. In Yemen, the Houthis in Yemen, and they could take over all of Oman and the United Arab Emirates. They would be viewed as liberators. They could also very easily take over Qatar and Bahrain. If Saudi Arabia were to join in the conflict against them, or Kuwait, they could try to instigate revolutions in those countries against their traitorous and treacherous enemies and their treacherous governments, which betray the Palestinians to the Israelis. And the Palestinians are being genocided, so there's a tremendous amount of resentment against the leaderships of Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, and Yemen. Or these other nations could get their act together and align themselves with Iran. Now, it is vitally important for Iran to try to win over public opinion by making reasonable humanitarian demands and not simply cutting off the oil. They may not want to cut off the oil at all. They may simply want to make this move to jump over and take over this territory. If they get Pakistan on their side, Pakistan is a nuclear power, a major nuclear power with megatonnage of thermonuclear weapons and the missiles to deliver those weapons. And if Iran were to unite with Pakistan in a defensive pact, and then were also to concurrently take over United Arab Emirates, the Musandam, Oman Peninsula, Oman, and then unite with the Yemenis, they would also have control over Red Sea traffic. And together with Pakistan, they would hold this whole section of coast of the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea, together with the Gulf of Aden. Now, obviously, if that happens, the US, Great Britain, France, and NATO are going to get involved. So that is why Donald Trump has been trying to deport anyone who speaks against Israel and stands up for Islam and stands up for the Palestinian people, because they knew they were planning all the while to attack Iran in precisely the way that they have. So what Donald Trump is trying to do is head off a jihad in the United States. He is trying to head off Muslims organizing and marching in the streets on behalf of Iran and Palestine to destabilize the United States and to weaken the morale of the American military and to win over public opinion against American interventionism in this region and to promote isolationism in this region. That's also why we see characters like Tommy Robinson and others in the UK trying to whip up sentiment against the Muslims there. Now, if the Iranians were able to start taking over this territory, they would control both sides of the Strait of Hormuz. If they so desired, they could put in bottom mines, anchor mines, all kinds of naval mines to keep any traffic from going in and out. And they could set up missiles on both sides of the Strait of Hormuz, all along the Iranian coast. And should Pakistan become an ally, Pakistan could also have missiles covering the Arabian Sea. The Houthis already cover the Red Sea and the Sea of Aden. Oman would be now Iranian territory. Think if Iran annexed United Arab Emirates and all of Omani territory, and then was a staunch ally of Yemen and Pakistan, they would have complete control over a vast percentage of Middle Eastern oil. If there were revolutions or the governments were to flip their positions in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, they would have control over a vast percentage of the oil available to Europe and to the rest of the world. That would be a tremendous strategic advantage, but they have to utilize that advantage wisely in unison with public opinion to make reasonable humanitarian demands. Now, Israel is certainly going to counter all this. And now that Israel has Iran tied up by the United States, it wants to move against the Hezbollah in Lebanon, as I've been anticipating for a very long time. And that's why they utilize Turkey to help them take over Syria, so that Israel can swing around and flank Hezbollah on its eastern front and flank it on the west from the Mediterranean Sea and move against it and try to go up into Lebanon, probably with the help of the Turks and the co-opted Syrians, and crush Hezbollah from all four sides and try to split it down the middle and then shrink both groups and take it over. They anticipate that Hezbollah is going to start launching missile attacks. And this is probably one of the reasons why Iran has been concentrating its attacks on Tel Aviv and Haifa, to make it more difficult for Israel to attack Hezbollah. So Iran has to utilize its forces, is probably planning to utilize its forces of Hezbollah soon to draw Israel away from Iran. But Israel now has the support of the United States. And Donald Trump did all he could to control public opinion in the United States. And that's probably the primary reason why he wanted to expel all those students. It wasn't just so that they couldn't speak out against Israel. It was so that they could not support Iran and generate social unrest in the United States in this planned war that they had coming up. And that's probably why the Zionist operatives in England and the UK were doing the same. Think, though, if they were unsuccessful. Think if the Muslims got their act together, unlike during the election when the Arabs stupidly helped to get Donald Trump elected. I warned them about what they were doing and how stupid it was, but no one would listen. But if they get their act together, they could have significant influence on this conflict and try to draw America out of it. Because it's obviously against Americans' best interest to get involved in another Middle Eastern conflict fought for Israel. Israel, as I've been saying for 20 years, the primary motive for drawing America into these conflicts is not to destroy the Middle Eastern Muslim nations. They much prefer the behemoth of the Muslims to the Leviathan of America and the West. It is to utilize America as Amalek, the Kelipat, the protective shell for Israel, so that these nations eventually, through attrition, destroy America and overwhelm America. So they're trying to bring down America by having America defend Israel ultimately. If the Muslims in Great Britain and the Pakistanis in Great Britain, who have a very large number of people and control the city of London and have mayor in control of the city of London, if they were to rise up against this, if Pakistan becomes an ally of Iran in this conflict and supplies Iran with thermonuclear warheads, initially as a deterrence, this is ultimately going to go nuclear. Either Israel is going to preventively strike Iran, perhaps with the United States. Perhaps the United States will do it independently. Independently is the wrong word. Perhaps it'll be primarily an attack from the United States, so the United States takes the blame as the scapegoat of Israel. Launches a preventative nuclear strike against Tehran and takes out 10, 12 million people, blows up all their other major cities. It's headed in that direction, either that or Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, perhaps China. There's no way Russia's going to help Iran. Launches a attack on Israel. It's going to go nuclear one way or the other, and it's simply a matter of who makes the nuclear first strike is going to win this conflict. If Iran does it, it will win. If Israel does it or America does it, then they obviously will win. And that is where this is ultimately headed. So let me go over it all again briefly. If Iran wants strategic advantage, it is probably planning to take over the Masandam Peninsula and the city of Qasab so that it controls both sides of the Strait of Hormuz, and it will probably also take over United Arab Emirates and Oman, hook up with the Houthis, form an alliance with the Pakistanis to control the Arabian Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and the Red Sea. The Israelis will move on Hezbollah in Lebanon to take out the proxy forces of Iran as they have done in Gaza to the Palestinians. They will flank them from Syria, probably obtain the help of the Syrians and the Turks to do it. They will get behind them in Lebanon. They will attack from the Mediterranean Sea and thereby flank and completely surround Hezbollah on every front, probably try to split them in the middle and then collapse in on those two circles and annihilate them. Iran has to act very quickly. If it obtains thermonuclear warheads from Pakistan, North Korea, or China, it can do that. It can offer up deterrence, or it can make a preventive, not a preventive, but a preeminent strike on Israel. I don't think it would take more than 25 warheads to completely eliminate Israel if that's what Iran chooses to do. Likewise, the Israelis or the Americans could do the same to the Iranians with a greater probability of total success. This is where this is going to go. And it's just a matter of who pulls the trigger first, if Iran can actually get that support. If missiles, or not missiles, but warheads, thermonuclear warheads are provided to Iran, they will have to test a random sample, pick out one or two of the warheads at random, test the triggers that are provided for those. They will probably utilize them as airbursts, whereas the U.S. and Israel may launch ground bombs on the nuclear sites in Iran, which will produce all kinds of nuclear fallout. At least with airbursts, the fallout is more minimized. And this is a strategy that I think Iran is planning to win the war, and it could be very effective if they're able to pull it off. It should be very easy for them to take over Oman, United Arab Emirates, and link up with the Houthis, most especially so if they gain the assistance of the Pakistanis in doing this. But they have to do it in a way that can win over public opinion in Europe and America. And I suspect they are also planning to try to stir up trouble in America and Europe by motivating the Muslims there to stand up for Iran and Pakistan. And I suspect they will also try to stir up revolutions in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, etc., if those nations don't get on board with defending humanity from Israel. More importantly than all of this is the fact that Americans have to stand up against what Trump is doing. They have to insist that Congress shut Trump down. We have to expose the fact that the media is completely subverted and controlled by Israel, as are our politicians, that this war is not in our interests. It is not in the interests of humanity. So now for my Substack subscribers, I'm going to start going over some of the things, some of the flaws I've seen